Okay, stand by. We're launching in 3, 2, 1. Good luck.
It has been so long since we've taken a look at GrimTalin games. If you've been with the channel a while, you might remember that I took a look at their very first game, The Adventures of Elena Temple. This was a puzzle platformer with Metroidvania elements and a unique graphical style that could be switched on the fly. It was attempting to emulate platformers of the past from classic PC games, and I think it did it very well, especially with its dynamic checkpoint system so that players wouldn't get too frustrated when they inevitably died. I rather enjoyed this title and gave it a 7 out of 10. Funny enough, the game has gotten a definitive edition with even more content, bumping the game up to a solid 8. But GrimTalin hasn't stopped there. They've been hard at work on a few titles over the years, and now they're back with not a sequel, but a spin-off in the same universe called the Fall of Elena Temple. I wasn't even planning to talk about this game, but the developer reached out and handed me a code to review it, so I said yes. So full disclosure, yes, the code was provided to me by the developer, so yeah. But all of my opinions, of course, will be my own. This is a very different game than the original, going for more of a linear puzzle solving element rather than jumping, shooting, or looking for switches. And when I asked the developer what he wanted to accomplish when making this game, he said this, quote, "I wanted to have some fun designing another retro puzzle game, and it just had to be in the Elena Temple universe. I made it first for the playdate, then I decided I wanted it on Switch and the other main platforms, so I remade it in Unreal 5. Crazy, I know. I kept getting people asking about another Elena Temple game over the years, so I'm happy I finally got inspired to make one. It's a neat little game that you can enjoy in one sitting, with a bit of my typical humor thrown in." Now that is a lot to take in, and I'm going to take that as a sign of passion from the developer. I'm going to take this as a sign, a ray of hope, if you will, that this game is going to be at least decent. They have made good games before, but sequels, spin-offs, they can be a bit lacking at times. So, does this game get it right? Does it belong in a museum? Or should it have remained in the pit with the snakes? Let's find out. The Fall of Elena Temple is priced at about $3 on Steam, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. That's about $1 cheaper than the last game, and what we're getting for that is a fun yet challenging puzzle game. The story starts off simple enough, with Elena falling into a tomb that she's getting ready to raid. She proclaims that she's going to collect every single coin in this place and the massive treasure at the end of it all. And honestly, that's as deep as the narrative goes, and it doesn't need more than that. The developer has put a ton of dialogue boxes in the game, giving you an insight into Elena's mind and how she's quite a sarcastic adventurer. Often thinking of what she's going to do with the coin she's collecting, or looking in horror or even familiar complacency with the trap she must face this time. Most of it is meant to be comedic or explain gameplay mechanics, and it works well in this aspect. Not every joke is a knee slapper, but there were a few moments that gave me a good chuckle. The dialogue also helped the game's linear design and moving the plot forward since there was no branching map. All 23 levels consist of the primary gameplay loop. You enter a room, read some dialogue, grab all the coins, and move on. However, Elena isn't as well equipped to deal with this stuff as she was in the last game. Due to all of her adventures, she can't jump. And she doesn't even have her gun in this game. The entire game has been restructured into more of a strict puzzle game where you must run about the levels in a very specific way. The developer even added a little restart option in the menu since trial and error is the name of the game here. There will be so many times when you're going through a level and you think you've got it, but you realize you made one little mistake and it's far too late to go back, so you have to reset the level. I honestly cannot tell you how many times this happened to me in the 2 hours playing this game, but it was probably more resets than there are levels in the game. Also, I will admit, I am not the best at puzzle games, so there was a couple times when I did take a few steps away from the game after I got frustrated towards the later end puzzles. I do have some mixed feelings on how specific you have to be when you beat a level. That could just be me though. I'll fully admit that. It's a very interesting way to do one of these games since you have to sit back and think about everything in advance before moving on. Where in the first game I was merely running around and hoping for the best, this one made me think a hell of a lot more. And that's a good thing. Now, what dungeon or tomb would be complete without traps or enemies? The Fall of Elena Temple has a great variety of traps, from spikes, snakes, spiders, arrows shooting from the wall, disappearing tiles, and a few others. Given how short each level is, the developers spread these obstacles out, giving the game a good sense of pacing and difficulty. And while I found the first handful of levels rather simple, as it got closer and closer to the end, I found myself falling, dying, and resetting a lot more, but never to the point where I wanted to give up. It's a decent challenge, and I really did look forward to what was coming around every single corner. The snakes in the game never moved. They were more of a variation on the spikes, but the trick is you could run off a cliff and stomp them Mario style. The spiders I found to be the toughest enemies in the game, since they could chase you if you got into their line of sight, which is probably why they show up so late in the game. Now, dodging these enemies and traps would be near impossible if it weren't for the abilities that you were given throughout the game. The first one being a quantum crystal, which allows you to turn back time and undo a step you previously took so you won't get stuck. This item is vital in most of the levels for completion, and funny enough, it kind of reminded me of the undo button in Catherine. Though, to be clear, going back only sends Elena to her last step. If the floor breaks or an enemy dies, it stays that way. I really did like this thing, and thought it might get some kind of upgrade where you undo death once, but that doesn't happen. It just undoes your last step up to a multiple amount of times, I think 5 or 6 max. Another item you grab are boots, which allow you to dash 2 spaces ahead instead of 1. This is actually pretty cool because it allows you to phase through walls and past spikes and creatures that would otherwise finish you off. I did, however, notice a glitch in the middle of my playthrough in room 15 when you get the dash boots. You can accidentally phase through the boundaries of the game and get stuck. Thank God for the reset button, otherwise I would have had to play a game of Boundary Break to get my character back. This was a minor problem, but it's worth noting. Another issue I had overall is the movement can feel very stiff. The game really wants you to take your time, and when you don't, you might end up taking one more step than intended and end up dying. This happened multiple times when I reset the level and then tried to blast my way back to where I was, and since you move so slow naturally, I end up feeling stuck and mashing one too many times. Also, the music on the title screen, it's not that great. It just feels really boring and not catching my attention. However, the music throughout the rest of the game is fantastic. It really stands out from the whole package and surpasses the first game. Upon finishing the first 20 levels, you unlock the 3 bonus levels that are much harder and add even more mechanics, though I'll leave that for you to play and find out. When asked if Grim will be making another Elena Temple game anytime soon, he told me this, quote, "Who knows? I'm making bigger games now, like The Crimson Maid and Last Days of Lazarus, but every now and then I get the itch to make something cooler with retro vibes, so who knows?" Whatever you decide to do in the future, I do wish you the best of luck, and if you do make another Elena Temple game, I'd like to make a suggestion. Do it in Game Boy Color aesthetics. That would be so cool, and we can have a more detailed, bit-crushed voice Elena in full color. And so that was the Fall of Elena Temple, and I gotta admit, I had a really great time with this game. Frustrations aside from me not being too good at puzzle games in general, this was an amazing experience, especially for the price. For $3, this game is amazing. The Fall of Elena Temple has a fantastic variety of levels, a killer soundtrack, and just moments that keep you thinking all the way to the very end. It is one of my favorite indie games I have played this whole year, and I am happily going to give it an 8 out of 10. I really wasn't expecting that. It is better than the launch of The Adventures of Elena Temple, and now they're side by side in terms of score, and that's fantastic. GrimTalin, thank you so much for the code for the game. Thank you so much for reaching out to me after all these years. You're awesome. And now I'd like to leave y'all with one last message from the developer. Take care. See you guys next time. I'd like to thank everyone for the amazing support for the first Elena Temple game. Hope they try this new one. It's got similar vibes, but it's definitely its own thing, and Elena talks now, which makes her even cooler than Lara Croft. Retro vibes rule. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give that video a like. If you want to stick around for more content, please subscribe. If there's anything you particularly liked about the video, give me a comment. If there's anything you didn't like about the video, give me a comment. Let me know what I could do better. Sorry the video took so long to make. One thing led to another, life got in the way, etc., but we got the video out. And I'm honestly really proud of it, and I'm happy I'm back doing this again. So yeah, until next time, if you guys want to see more videos, check out my buddy Derek64's video on 50 Cent Bulletproof, or if you want to see another video from me and you want to see some more Elena Temple, I actually reviewed the first one on this channel, and I'll leave a link to that one in the description as well. And yeah, thanks for watching everybody. I'll catch you next time.